And we are live. Welcome back once again to another of our marketing masterclasses, a $1,000,000 Masterclass. I am your host, Frederick Douglass Bussey. I'm excited to be with you today. We've got a great class for you. It's going to be very informative for those of you who are entrepreneurs looking to scale your business from 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 9 figures. We've got some amazing insight that we're going to share with you today. I have an amazing guest, and I'm excited about doing that. Before we begin, though, preliminaries. If you're watching this in the 7-Figure Circle $1,000,000 Mastermind group, perfect. But if you are not, then you should know that's the place you need to be to join. This is where we house a great deal of our content, where we have amazing masterclasses, we have great guests, we have great resources to be able to support you, an entire community of nearly 1,500 entrepreneurs and entrepreneurially minded individuals who are seeking to build wealth through the vehicle of their business. And so that's you. You need to join the 7-Figure Circle $1,000,000 Mastermind. If you've not yet liked to subscribe and watch our YouTube channel, I encourage you to smash the like button, hit subscribe so you can be notified whenever we go live and whenever we drop more amazing content for you. Now, it may sound like I'm boastful. We're saying amazing, but amazing is a bar that we're setting for ourselves, because if we're not seeking to be amazing, we're not seeking to be valuable, then what's the point, right? And so I say amazing because that is the goal, always the aim. And the feedback that we're getting is that we're hitting that target. So I want to make sure that we're doing that for you guys as well. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started here. I'm going to bring on my guest in just 1 second. Right after this, let's go to work. Now, today we've got an amazing guest, and I'm really excited to bring him on. I actually met him via StreamYard. StreamYard has this collaboration platform whereby they are encouraging people to collaborate, creators to collaborate. And I've met some amazing people with that experience. And so because of that, I'm super excited to be able to share our guest with you today, his experience, his story, and his expertise. I think it's going to be something really amazing for us all to be able to share. All right. His name is Mr. Steve ROI Brown. He's a seasoned marketing expert, best-selling author of The Golden Toilet, and creator of cutting-edge marketing and sales software solutions, including GrowthStack CRM, GrowthStack Connect, and AI Warm Leads app. And at the helm of ROI Online, Steve leads a team of innovative professionals crafting impactful marketing plans and sales strategies. He's helped numerous business leaders clarify their why. As the host of the ROI Online podcast and an alumnus of the Goldman Sachs 10K Small Business Program at Babson College, Steve shares his wealth of insights and experiences, inspiring business owners worldwide. Please welcome with me none other than our guest for today, Mr. Steve ROI Brown.
Frederick, man, I'm glad that I met you, and I'm proud to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, the pleasure is mine as well. We had a great conversation initially that well exceeded the time that we had allotted initially. And so we decided we were going to let this spill over right into a place and a forum where other people could be able to join. One quick note I want to make for those who are watching live, right, is that I would love for them to be able to drop their questions and comments into the chat. So if you're watching this on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you are, drop a comment or a question into the chat. First of all, drop a 1 in the chat and let us know that you can hear us. Everything's okay technically. There's no glitches in that regard. And then if you have a question about marketing or about business in general, drop that in the comments for us below. We love to be able to take these questions in real time. One, because it gives us other great content to be able to make sure that we're pouring into you, but also because it allows us to be as relevant as possible in the moment. You know, wherever you are in your business, you want to get the answers that you need right now. And so we want to make this as impactful and valuable as possible. And I know Steve absolutely wants to do that as well. We're getting 1s in the comments. Awesome. Good stuff. So Steve, first of all, your middle name is ROI. Um, Tell us a little bit about who you are. How'd you get the nickname ROI? Um, is that like, are you like a rapper where you have your other name as well? I'm just curious about that. But tell us a little bit about who Steve ROI Brown is.
Steve ROI Brown. I'm, my heroes, when you think about the people that I really want to serve, they're
Mm,
they're entrepreneurs. They're the invisible engine of the American economy. And it's because they actually step out and put things on the line. We just watched
mm,
the Super Bowl and you think that's really competitive, but the most competitive place that anyone can be measured is in business. It,
mm,
it really
mm,
is. And when you think about the entrepreneurs that step up and want to be accountable and test their mettle, that's the place. And they risk their future, they risk their family's future. And what do they happen to do? They happen to bring products and services that improve our lives. And yet,
mm,
you may have started your business because you're excellent at, I don't know, consulting attorneys or whatever that may be, but you
mm,
didn't realize that you were also going to need to be a proficient online in some way, have a marketing mindset. And how do you do these things that are, your customers expect you to do? And that's why I exist. And so my agency is called ROI Online. And I wanted to convey that I understand that the time that you invest with me needs to have something to show for, right? You need to get a return on your investment.
mm.
And my name's Steve Brown, and there just happens to be thousands of Steve Browns out there. And so putting the ROI in the middle gives me my differentiation, helps me stand out, makes me easy to find.
I love it. I love it. You said something there too, and it really ties in actually to your name. Entrepreneurs are the ones who take the risks, right? And they're the ones who are competing on the actual field in every single day. They're in the trenches doing the work. And so that is an investment. It's an investment of your future. It's an investment of your time in the present, your sweat equity, your dreams. You're investing all these things, and of course, your hard-earned dollars,
Mhm,
right? And so the return on investment is the whole point.
mhm.
That's why we're doing it. Whatever, however you define that, whether it's money, wealth, um, all the things that come along with wealth, freedom, as most entrepreneurs might say. But what for you has been one of the things that you see as the greatest ROI for entrepreneurs when you're working with them?
What I love, we get busy. We get this inspiration. We start a business and we get in the trenches, and that for some reason we thought we could actually bring a better mousetrap, so to speak, to market,
Mhm,
right? For whatever reason,
mhm,
we got that inspiration. And so we get busy and we look up maybe 2 or 3 years later, and
mhm,
that why is in the background, and we kind of forgot about it. And I think one of the most fulfilling things that I have is when I get to work with my clients, we
mhm,
go and curate or do like an archaeological dig, and we
mhm,
we
mhm,
resurface that original reason why you started what you started. That's your that's the fuel that helps you push through the hard times in business. And
mhm,
people say, I'm chase your passion, or the only way you're going to find happiness is to chase your passion. But it's not true. It's
mm,
not true. When you get smacked in the face, when you get run into all these barriers, when your intent was to make something better for someone, where does why do you push through? And it's because that why is that fuel. And really, it's
mhm,
not happiness, it's fulfillment. We get fulfillment as humans,
mhm.
overcoming these big problems that weren't fair, that were at the wrong time, that may have been costly. But when we make it out through the other side, it's fulfilling. And I think
Yes.
that's the separation of being an entrepreneur and being an employee, is that
Mhm,
that that will to push through no matter how hard it gets.
You, I recently had a Dr. Timothy Moore, the clarity doctor, on here who said something very, very similar. And I love that you said this because a lot of times it's so fundamental that most entrepreneurs skip it. Now, here's what I want to tie it into our masterclass today. Everybody has a why, right?
Mhm.
And so marketing exists for a reason too. People either hate it or love it. They overvalue it or undervalue it. But the fact of the matter is that it exists for a reason. And we're talking about it today because, well, first of all, you bring it to the forefront through your ROI online platform. But first, I think we get to define what it is. So to you, what is marketing?
Marketing is how you tell people
Mhm.
how you can benefit them and help them solve their solution. Simply, when we say marketing, in everyone's mind, that's a different animal. We see a different animal. And so I like to
Mhm.
kind of break it down. When we're talking about marketing, you think of professional golf. And so you have the professional golfer. And the
Mhm.
professional golfer's his responsibility is to get the ball in the hole. Well, I see
Right.
that as sales. That's like the sales row. I'm supposed to perform and get it over the line, right? But
Mhm.
marketing is like the caddy. The caddy is going
Mhm.
along. They're strategizing on this particular initiative, this hole, so to speak, and then marketing is handing the assets to the salesperson to perform better. And then you think of branding. Well, branding
Mhm.
is how they dress, who's the audience that they appeal to, who follows them. That's branding. And then positioning is like what tournament do you apply, because you're going to strategize and think about, I have a chance to place in this tournament and I'll avoid
Mhm.
this tournament because I don't have. So when we talk about marketing, when I say marketing, marketing is a support, but it's the clear communicating clearly
Mhm.
what your value is to your potential prospects and your customers as well.
The caddy. So marketing is the caddy for the golf tournament, for the
Yeah.
golf pro of the entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
Let's talk about when the entrepreneurs forget the caddy, or
Yeah.
it seems like the caddy isn't doing the job. What is one of the biggest mistakes that you see entrepreneurs making with their marketing?
Yeah. So back to that why.
Mhm.
They focus on features generally is the biggest mistake, so that when
Mhm.
they're saying my product can do this and this, it can jump higher or go faster or whatever, but really there's other products out there just like that,
Mhm.
and they say the same thing. So
Yeah.
what's the differentiator here? Well, there's a reason behind why you're involved in this, because you actually have a unique perspective. And if you don't communicate your clear, unique perspective and focus on the benefits rather than the features, the
Mhm.
benefits for the person that you're wanting to help, you recognize or innately know the benefits that your customers or your prospects get from doing business with you, but you might be dismissive of them. You might not recognize it. And
Mhm.
so our default way is to go, well, it's got so many tokens per thing. And
Mhm.
and that doesn't mean anything to your prospect.
Right. Right. No, I agree. I find that a lot of entrepreneurs are very insecure, right? Um, Business pounds us into the pavement a lot of times. And so we feel compelled to overcome the rejection of our potential clients or customers by convincing them that we're the best,
Mhm,
right? And so by doing that, we often end up communicating that we're the same.
mhm. Yeah.
And therefore, in a sea of sameness, why should I pick you? You're telling your customer to basically close their eyes and throw a dart, but I'm the one in front of you, so hit me first, right? And so being able to communicate that difference, communicate that uniqueness is a skill set that a lot of, I would say 80 to 90% of entrepreneurs do not want to be bothered with, right?
Mhm.
How tell our listeners, our audience, why they should be bothered with this. Why does this matter so much? And maybe give us an example of how you've been able to help someone to be able to transform their business by being able to zero in on this particular skill set.
Yeah. You're good at this, Frederick. So,
Maybe a little bit.
so here's the thing. Your prospects or your customers, they need to feel that you understand them and that they're safe with you. Remember one time you were by yourself, maybe you were in a restaurant or a different town, and someone came up to you and they knew you were looking for something or you needed directions or whatever. And then anyway, they just recognized that you needed a little help. They gave it to you. Remember how it made you feel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe feel relieved.
Yeah. Appreciate it. But they didn't need, it's like, that's so nice. And you left encouraged. Well, that's when you spend time on your messaging, and just for everyone to know, I follow the Donald Miller Story Brand Framework. I'm a certified guide. I've been doing that since 2017, and so basically, your customer, they're in a story, and they're the hero of their story. And when your business comes along and you position your business as the hero, that's conflicting. They're the hero. And so they're when you said you're conveying in the effort to make yourself different, you're making yourself the same. That was a great quote, by the way. But you're alienating yourself when you're doing that. And what you need to be communicating is, look, I totally get you and I understand you. And here's a little something that I can maybe support you with and help you. There's this aspirational outcome they desire. When you're communicating that your solution is helping them accomplish how they see themselves in the future, that's huge. Well, it takes a little work to get your messaging clear. But when you think about the thought leaders that you follow and the folks that are listening, they're following you. It's because you convey so clearly certain concept that they go, yeah, I've been feeling that, but Frederick said it so well. Okay. Well, it's because you've done some work and it's obvious, but you see how it differentiates you from, and they can do the same. We just need to do a deliberate process, and that's to sit down and put ourselves in their shoes and be thinking about what is it your product solves something, okay? And we usually talk about the features, but really you said insecure. What you're resolving is their insecurity or their doubt that they are going to be able to accomplish what they need. That's why they're searching for something to help them. So if you can convey that, look, my solution is going to fit right in there and help you get what you want, then you're communicating, you understand them. And that's a surprise. That's a big differentiator.
Yes. And I said that entrepreneurs are insecure. There's a phase of insecurity when you're first starting out, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a phase when you get more traction. And I think now that sometimes in their business sense, entrepreneurs actually flip to the other side. They become overconfident. Oh, I can help everybody, right? Or I can help, absolutely I can help you. And I'm going to prove it to you. I've got X, Y, these things, and we've added these bells and whistles, and we've got this widget over here, and we're installing this on the back end. And so you want to overwhelm people with your greatness, so to speak, right? And again, that still communicates sameness, right? So Talk a little bit about, I agree with you. There's work that's involved. Very few people are willing to do that work, but there is an ROI for that work.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about what that process looks like and why it is so much more impactful than just um, running more ads, than just creating more flyers, and just shining up your website. Like, why is this work so important and so beneficial to business owners?
Well, maybe in a proposal process, the proposal acknowledges that it communicates you listened, but it acknowledges that here's your goal, and here's the solution, or whatever the path that you would like to take, and this is where this will fit in there. But bottom line, this is going to help you get to that place in the future. You know, we talk about social media posting and what should I post about, and I should be posting on LinkedIn, and I should be doing these things. But what if you were just commenting your perspective on people's post?
Mm-hmm.
Now you're doing exactly what we've been talking about. You're going and adding a perspective that communicates that you understand. I see what you're saying here, and you could also consider this. Well, you
Mm-hmm.
just did that. Basically, you're walking the walk, and you're not focused on me, post. You should post, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I think probably for every post that you do, you should probably do 4 or 5 comments on other people's posts. Why? Because
Mm-hmm.
your potential clients or customers are hanging out, listening to that one person as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a good example of what you're asking about. I do want to say one thing. When we talk about when we're in an insecure phase, then we get in that super confident phase.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sometimes if you're not, I think sometimes the loudest person in the room is the most insecure. They're just trying to communicate. They're not insecure. They're aware that they are, but they're
That's a
trying to
great point.
bluff, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
when you are aware of the value that you can offer, you're more calm, you're more quiet, and you
Mm-hmm.
pitch in when you're asked, so to speak.
Right.
I think that's what great marketing messaging does.
It feels intuitive to the audience, right? It feels intuitive to your client. One of the things that we talk about with our clients as well when they're trying to grow their business, right, is really creating a culture that will support their goals, right? It's very difficult to build a business when your team is not aligned and moving towards the same goal and performing at a high level. One of the important elements of being able to do that is to create a culture that has a great deal of psychological safety. One of the greatest ways to be able to create psychological safety for people is to make them feel seen or heard. And I often find that businesses that struggle with their marketing message is reflective of their internal culture as well. They don't listen to the people inside, and they don't listen to the people that their clients that they're bringing out from outside as well. Um, I'm saying this as because Darian posted, and I didn't get to read the whole thing because it was rather lengthy, but great word picture. He was talking about what you said, and beyond the challenge of differentiation, there's also the challenge of conveying urgency in your messaging to get those who recognize the need for your solution to choose you versus someone else now and not later. So this actually does go to my point, which is that when you let people know that they've been heard, right? And sometimes it's like you said, saying the thing that they're thinking but have not been able to put into words.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that process, right? And how that relates to helping people to choose you now, not someone else now or later,
Yeah.
right? that process of being, it sounds like what you do actually is that you help the entrepreneurs feel seen and heard as well. Would that be right?
Agreed. You know, we have these organizations. Let's talk about in your organization. That's such an excellent point.
Mm,
You know, we work with people every day, and it's assumed we're all in that group rowing to the same point on the horizon. We're in the
mhm,
individual canoes or whatever. And if you were to ask everyone, are you going to the same point? They would agree. But in reality, it's not true until you, as a leader, are very clear about where we're going, why we're going, and you almost have an internal dictionary of terms.
mhm,
There's a book called Primal Branding, and in
mhm,
that it's by Patrick Hanlon, but he talks about all great organizations have these 7 key components, and one of them is they have internal language that those that are a part of that organization or a fan of they have the insider language.
mhm.
Well, again, you have to be deliberate about what is that insider language and what you're doing
Right.
and why you're going there. And if one of the powerful levers of a leader in an organization like that is that when you're not around, your people are actually they're continue to use that language. Therefore, you're expanding your leadership. So you're making the organization happy because they just want clarity. And clarity builds confidence. Confusion builds anxiety, whether it's in your messaging
Mm, mm,
or in your
yes.
organization, right? And so clarity is like this big leadership lever. And the reason that it's a big leadership lever is because the leader sat down, recognized they needed to do that, do the exercise, and build out our vocabulary. What is, how do we refer to this? Why do we say it? What do we do next?
Mhm,
There's a
mhm,
great book called Vivid Vision
mhm,
by Cameron Harold, I believe. And he talks about that process that you can do to build that that flag on the horizon in the future
mhm,
that
mhm,
everyone is rowing to. It's it's huge. So that distills down into your marketing message. It distills into your customer service messaging. It, but it comes from your why and your
mhm,
unique value because you
mhm,
have certain words that you say that are from you. And that's the differentiator. And that's why we love certain brands or we love certain thought leaders because they just get me and I enjoy listening to them and I feel safe and I feel empowered because I learned something and walked away. And my time invested was worth it.
You get your ROI. Can you give an example of a leader or even a brand that you think right now is really doing a great job of communicating to their ideal customer or client? Somebody that you feel either you feel personally like they get you, or they just show really well that they get their people.
Let's see. When while let's start with one I've seen kind of drop the ball recently. Okay.
Okay.
And, and
Mm,
and the reason I'm bringing it up is just because everyone's aware of this example, but Bud Light, okay,
mhm,
Bud
mhm,
Light had this. They had these fraternity like commercials that were funny, and I even remember saying to my grandfather when he was alive, we would joke, but every once in a while he would say, "I love you, man." When that joke was, "I wanted your beer," right? And that was
mhm,
such a great thing. But then this recent thing was like, why was it so upsetting? Is because it was incongruent with their existing audience. They took all this time to build,
right,
right? And that's
right.
a great example of someone doing a good in that way. Um, let's think about, you know, I'm stumped at the moment, and I'm well. So I believe. Let's talk about story brand.
Hmm.
So Donna Miller wrote this book on story brand, and it's like when I ran into it immediately, I thought this is the missing piece of my agency.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
okay, and the reason that I realized that was it was great branding, and it was like, duh, its story's been around forever. But when he worded it in a way that it made sense to me, then the people in my agency, when we were sitting around talking about what would be great messaging for this client, instead of who was the most persuasive in that meeting, there was a
Hmm.
framework to follow. It
Right.
was unifying to the team, and so that would be a great. I think that's a great example as a brand that's they're building this community, and people love the book when they
Hmm.
read it.
Hmm. One of the things that I think, so there's a couple of things there actually. When it comes to the story branding and Donna Miller, what he was able to do was encapsulate something that everyone is familiar with, right? So it's an easy concept to grasp. Everybody knows what stories mean, right? And so I think right away, it makes you feel like an expert. It doesn't feel unwieldy, right? But then inside of it, he starts breaking it down and starts talking about the strategy for telling a story in a certain way to get a certain outcome,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so your ROI, Mr. ROI himself, right? So it sounds like it was easy for you to be able to connect that. Oh, if I add this piece to the puzzle, it gets me a greater return on my investment of time, investment in attracting clients, even in the input that you're putting into your work with clients, because we don't just do it for the money that they pay us. We do it because we want to really help people and help them to get a certain result. So the greater result they're able to get, the more effective we can do. Like you said, it creates more significance for us. It creates more fulfillment for us. It allows us to be able to elevate the impact and deepen the impact that we have in our clients' lives and the dent that we're putting in the universe. Because, like you said, we're competitive. So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not putting a big enough dent in the universe, if I'm over there just banging my head and I'm getting a headache but no impact, then that's frustrating, right?
Yeah.
So that sounds like to me what was one of the connectors. Does that resonate at all in terms of
So
what you were thinking or
no,
feeling?
totally, because back on that life cycle of a business,
Mm-hmm.
I think I might be really good at this. I think I can do it different. And then like I've got some customers and I'm doing it, but I'm still being critical. And then I remember the day I heard I had a Christmas party or something, and I invited some clients in, and I was in a conversation over here. And then I heard some people talking about ROI, not
Mm-hmm.
not me, but my company, and how they were just talking about ROI and the value that ROI was adding in it. And it was like, Steve, man, they believe it. You better believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So and then it's like I realized what is it different about ROI? Why is it that? So I'm trying to land on that. And then I ran into the Donald Miller thing, and I was like, oh, this is a piece that I've been feeling, but I didn't have the words, and he had put it in this beautiful framework, and it became a big differentiator for us. And we lurched forward when I took that concept and put it in to what I'm doing. You mentioned my book,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that I needed to write a book, but I didn't want to just write a Me Too book. I wanted to write something that was unique value to someone that would read it, that had my personality and my unique perspective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My lesson from the story brand thing was to see that it's a system. That framework is a system, and you follow that system, and it's like, wow, that is a big lever, a positive lever. And
Mm-hmm.
and then one day I realized what I was doing was, remember I said it was the piece that was missing in my
Mm-hmm.
system. And my message became, I don't want you to build a website. I want you to build a system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that was we bring you a system. We help you see a system because we talk about ROI again. This investment that I'm putting in, it needs to become an asset that's going to grow the value of my business.
Mm-hmm.
Is the essence of what we're doing.
Right. Right.
And so, yeah, that's huge.
Talk a little bit about that system piece, right? Because, and I don't think you don't hear a lot of people talking about marketing as a system,
Mhm.
right? We actually talk about it more as a tactic. It's this thing that you got to do. And then we talk about all the sub tactics, the micro tactics that you should be posting online, post 3 times a day, post on these different platforms. You need to be, and people love to get into that part of it. They love to get into the science of the content, the science of the tactics. But what you're talking about being systematic, right? Strategic is really, there's a word I can think of to use for it, but I really want to hear how you frame it. Why people need to be thinking, business owners need to be thinking about marketing as a system that they're implementing or installing in their business.
So back to the golf analogy.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're that pro golfer and you say, I don't need a caddy. Every one of those golfers on a PGA, they have caddies. Why?
Right.
It's an advantage. Okay. And they sat as a team before that tournament. He's got a whole team behind him. And they talked about who they're golfing against, what they should be practicing on, the specific. It's more than just show up and wing it. Okay.
Right.
And so the same thing is going on in business. So when you think of marketing as a system, I see it as 4 pieces. Basically, is that in marketing you have it, we're merging a physical world with a virtual world. Okay. So it means we need software. So there's a tech stack. That's one component, multiple tactical, they each accomplish certain little tactical, but combined, they're a tech stack that should complement each other. Then you're going to take that messaging we've been talking about, and you're going to bake it into that platform that becomes like your website pages or your emails that go out, or your LinkedIn profile, or your social media post, or your proposals. That messaging should be congruent across all those touches. That's baked in there. Then there needs to be like a strategy. What niche am I going after? What service are we promoting? What's the priority product that really we get that one product out there, and then we get collateral upsells that happen from that. Okay, that's strategy. And then you design campaigns. So 4 things there. You got your tech stack, you got your messaging baked in, then you're thinking about strategic, and then you're thinking about what campaigns you need to do. And I think that's the way that we need to think about. It's a legitimate business asset. That's a big competitive advantage because your competitors are struggling with this, and they're doing the same thing. They first approach it in a tactical fashion. Okay, so remember the first ad campaign you ever ran? Embarrassing, waste of money, didn't work. It was a beta test, basically, on your first attempt at whatever it was. All your competitors are experiencing that too. And so when you back up and are deliberate about it, like you are in your messaging, that's where you get an up level that gives you an advantage. And it's not that hard. It just means you're going to back up and do some work.
Now, as you're explaining that, I can hear our audience saying, well, that's amazing, Steve. That sounds great, but that sounds hard.
It is.
You want me to build a tech stack, especially if you're not in Silicon Valley, the idea of a tech stack, I'm a business owner. I run a plumbing business, or I run a construction company, or I run a design studio, or I run, any number of this. I'm not a marketer. What technology should I use? Where does the stack come from? What does it even look like? Like my head is spinning. How do you respond to people in that regard? Like, how do you help them to walk through and understand um, the magnitude of the system, right? Is there a way that you're able to make it easier for them to be able to understand exactly what they're doing, what they're really building, right? Not just all these different components that sound too hard for any one person to do.
Well, so the answer is similar to your culture in your organization. There's a culture that exists, whether it was deliberate or not. There's a tech stack that exists, whether it's deliberate or not. You have an email system, right? So you're either using Google or Microsoft or whatever. You've got some sort of invoicing tool. You know, there is an existing tech stack component. So we would audit it and kind of think about it and what solutions exist that could consolidate, make it more efficient, make it communicate more. The big, you know, I've been a HubSpot shop for years, almost 15 years before HubSpot was cool. But with HubSpot, that's a great brand as well. They do a good job, if I was going to answer your question on that. But they really communicate the value of what a CRM thing is. And it's like you have internal and external one-to-one emails going on, but then you need to do some sort of marketing emails. And then you have a sales process that you need to be tracking or consolidating, kind of be on top of what's happening with the sales team and who are they talking to. So that's a CRM. And then it's like, well, everyone knows you need to have a website, and everyone knows or they're being really convinced they should have a Facebook page or a LinkedIn page. So we just listed pretty much the components of what that tech stack is.
Right.
You would just figure out which one maybe it can be consolidated and talk better together, you know, and how you should look at the expectations of each of these things that exist. That's the way I would answer that.
Steve, so with that being said, I'm an entrepreneur right now. I don't know best practices, right? But if there's one, and I want to kind of break down each of these components. You labeled 4 components of the system.
Yeah.
The marketing system. What's one key insight, one hack that I could start thinking about right now to level up my marketing and thereby level up my business? Can you take us like component by component? What's one key thing that they should be thinking about, looking at, implementing right now?
Yeah. I think, first of all, the messaging is your biggest lever that I would attack immediately. Okay. Why? You have to use it, and don't have to change anything, because that messaging is going to go into whatever you have. Okay. So first of all, in a story, we meet a hero. And so I'm just making up a goofy example. Me and a hero, right? And so him and his dad, they worked together, and what do? They defuse bombs. Okay. All right. But the last time they defused a bomb, oops, dad got blown up. Okay.
Okay. Wow. This is a tragedy.
Yeah. So now our hero is like, he's timid because he made a mistake, but he's an expert at this. Okay. And then all of a sudden, someone steals his dog, and they're going to, like, if you don't pay the ransom, we're going to, you know, the ticker's on the bomb, and little Fluffy is not going to be around anymore if you fail. So there's this insecurity in there. Okay. So if you can think about what the insecurity is in your heroes that you're serving, and how you can easily resolve that because have a unique perspective about that, you just diffuse that thing that they're worried about. Okay. Yeah. So the folks that come to me, they're convinced they need to get their story brand, for example, that we need to get our messaging clear, Steve. Well, they've read the book, they know how to do it, but inside, it's my first time. I'm insecure that I can do it. You can help me save time and get over this hurdle. So
Right.
that exercise is huge for you. It's a competitive advantage because your competitors default to features. When you're conveying, Frederick, I understand you. You've got this great group that you put all this time and investment. You've got this great group that loves your live streams. You don't want a dud on your show. So our conversation helped you know that I wouldn't waste their time.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's what happens when you connect the dots on that insecurity, right? And that's number one. Tech stack. There's a bunch out there, and you would figure out the one that fits you best. And there's HubSpot is expensive, but it's enterprise. So if you're an enterprise company, you might be featuring that or focusing on that. There are other good solutions. I happen to have one that's more SMB, but there's a bunch of those out there. Your strategy is you think about who your priority customer is. Let's focus on messaging about how you can help them, and other people that see it, whether they're that priority or not, they're going to go, I wonder if he can help me with this as well. Right. So that would be your strategies. Like, let's figure out where they live. I saw this funny post on social media, and it was these two guys talking, and they don't get on Tinder. You go to the Facebook marketplace and you look at the girls that are selling their wedding dress, and that's where you should be looking for people that are open to new relationships. And plus you can pick their size. Okay. And I thought that was so funny, but that is a perfect example of how you should be thinking about your strategy. Right?
Yeah.
That's how you should think about it, instead of do what everyone else is doing, posting on Facebook, like, okay. And that's your strategy. And then you'd figure out your campaign. If that's where they are, what would my message be to shortcut that? I can help you because I understand you.
Right. I love it. You mentioned a couple of things that I want to kind of pull a thread on, but one of the things I don't want to do is, because you promoted HubSpot, but I'm not letting you off the hook. You built your own tech stack solution for your clients. So I'm going to put you on the spot here. Why is yours the one that people should pick? What was it that you saw that you could, what problems was it you saw that you could uniquely solve that would help your clients in a way that all these other CRMs and all the other tools that are out there couldn't do? Because it takes time to build something. Like, so you didn't just build it just so you could compete and say you had it, just another shining button, right? You had to see something. So what was it that you saw? What was the Facebook marketplace angle that you were taking on this whole deal?
So, my Facebook marketplace is progressive-minded entrepreneurs that understand they need to get their act together in this little area, right? And so it's not convincing them they should. It's helping them accomplish what they're wanting to do. They're already convinced. But wouldn't it be nice to have someone they could trust to help them evaluate and get placed in the proper vehicle? So when I did my evaluation, the tech stack that I put together is like, all right, immediate wins. What can we quickly do to get some immediate wins going? Because that would be nice. A lot of times back in the day, we would start working with someone. Yeah, we're going to write blogs. We're going to help your messaging, but you got to be patient because it takes blogs a time to work.
Right.
And so now it's like on this side, I'm going, here's some quick wins that we're going to quickly implement. We're going to get your Google My Business listing set up. We're going to go, you've got contacts sitting around somewhere. Let's upload them, let's segment them, and let's start running campaigns right away, because you've already done the work to get this list. And most of us are neglecting that list. And one of the most neglected business assets that exist in the world is a contact list. But then it's like, now we need to get our messaging going to those folks. So there's several little strategies that we would want to do there. LinkedIn automated prospecting is like the most effective thing that you can do immediately in a professional way with great messaging. Okay. That's another component. And then I like to, you think about, all right, so great. We got my existing contacts and we're being good stewards of those. We got our messaging. We're prospecting and on LinkedIn, but I'd like to, now it's like, well, how do I grow my audience is the next thing that comes to mind. Well, let's start with, let's see who's poking around on your website and let's identify those folks and then run campaigns. And that's warm leads before we go and get a list of cold leads and to start cold prospecting. So those are the ways that's why I built the tech stack that I have or that I promote. And it can be, a minimal version of that or a complicated. It just depends on the person that I'm working with. It's not a one size fits all. It's like a tux that we measure.
Customizable.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. And I like the fact that you focus on getting, obviously that has to be attractive to entrepreneurs that you work with, getting instant ROI, getting a very quick win, right? Or quick wins, plural. Because there is a lot of work that goes into it and it can pay off over time. When we talk about ROI, oftentimes the ROI is more long-term. What you're saying is that there are neglected aspects of people's businesses, neglected assets that they're not valuing, that they're not actually activating, that you can go in and you can help them to turn on, that you can help them to take somebody from warm to hot, that you can, because it's already there. Why not get to it? But sometimes they just can't see it because they're focused on these other things. Is that right? Would that be accurate?
Yeah, that's very accurate. I brought, today for the folks that are listening, and if they're interested, I have a special offer because of you that I'm would like to offer them, but it's our warm leads app. So it's AI warm leads .app. And what it does, we put a little code, a snippet code on your website, and we start to identify folks that are already aware of your brand, already on your website, already looking at your solutions. Wouldn't it be nice to know who they are? If you had a booth at a trade show and you noticed someone that was standing a little bit afar, studying your booth, wouldn't you go up and introduce yourself? Right?
You would think.
That's so you'd think. And so that's what this tool does. And so it identifies a number of folks, not every single one, and it drops that contact information into a spreadsheet. Okay. And the information it can identify, the artificial intelligence goes out and identifies it. And then you can, your eyes will see what value that particular person may be for your organization. It may be a competitor, it may be your mom, or it may be someone that's actually needing what you have, but they just didn't fill out a form. They didn't call you yet.
So what I hear from that is two things. One, I hear why the work you do in the beginning pays off here, right? Because you need to do some pre-work in order to be able to understand how to quickly activate those people that are hidden in plain sight, right?
Yeah.
Basically the dollars laying around that are kind of covered by leaves, right? And then the other aspect of it that I hear is that you're able to be able to help people do that in a sustainable way.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can do it once and you can set it up, right? Now this is something that's always ongoing. That is a system, right? So because people who come in cold, they don't have to stay cold. You get to warm them up. People who are warm, you get to heat them up and turn them into somebody that's hot. And those who are hot, you get to start harvesting those. Let's go. Because and all that's possible because you understand. You're already able to speak the language of your ideal client, your ideal customer. You're able to position yourself in a way all along that journey. It allows them to be able to see that, oh, this is for me. So if I'm a plumber and I'm meeting somebody who they've got a house, but they don't have a plumbing problem yet. All right, cool. You're not in that space yet where you need me. But maybe now you've got a toilet that's running and it's annoying, right? And then down the line, maybe you've got some pipes that burst or things like that. Those are different aspects of that. But you're able to speak to those people because you know who you're looking for, you know where they are, and you know how to be able to activate them at the proper time to be able to reap the ROI of your efforts. Did I do a good job of kind of putting a synopsis on that?
You did. So imagine that mom trying to get her kids ready for school that morning. Toilet starts overflowing at the worst time.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they looking for? The plumber with the special equipment, or the plumber that says, "Mom, you take care of the kids. I'll fix this and clean it up. Don't worry about it." You see the difference?
Right.
That's what you can do today. It's so simple. You already innately know it, but until you see it and approach it in a kind of well, of course, that's what mom's insecurity is. Am I being a bad mom because I don't get the toilet fixed and don't get my kids to school on time?
Yeah. Yeah.
You see where you're the hero in that story? Mom, you do that.
Yeah.
I'll handle this.
Yeah. That's a great point, because I want to tie that back to, you said something earlier that I forgot about. I don't want to touch on that. Is that you don't want to compete with your client on being the hero, right? You want to be their hero because you help them be the hero in their story.
There, yeah, mom's hero status is at risk. It's hard to be a mom when you're trying to handle all these things, and this unknown that's unfair pops up, but you pop in her story and you go, "Don't worry about that. I know you go handle that. You won't even know I've been here. It'll be so nice and clean, and your toilet will work." That's what she wants. That's all she wants. She doesn't want to know about your $29.95 special. You got the best truck in town, the beautiful building. That's not in her story.
Right. Steve, you've done a great job sharing with us in the audience today, man. Tell people how they can get a hold of you. Mm-hmm. You have something for us that you want to leave for all of our viewers. AIwarmleads.app. Is that the link?
Yeah, AIwarmleads.app. And so you go there. I'm at 30 days free. Just put it in there and put Frederick let me know that, so you get the credit, Frederick. And they're going to get 30 days. We're going to put the code on their website, and they're going to get a spreadsheet, and they're going to start seeing who's on their website and what pages they're looking at, assuming they have good traffic. And then if you want to keep going, then we'll talk about how you can take advantage of that.
Well, that's 30 days free, where you can start getting leads that people are already coming, right? So why should you lose that? So for 30 days, you got the opportunity to be able to get that head start and another one of those quick wins that you're helping people to get.
Quick wins, brother. That's right. It's a quick win to listen to this live stream.
There you go. And you really help people come out further ahead with the wins today, Steve. I really appreciate you. Thanks for sharing that. Oh, I want to make sure, how can people get a hold of you and connect with you?
So my website's roionline.com, or you can message me on LinkedIn, I guess, at Steve ROI Brown. Just search Steve ROI Brown on LinkedIn. You should find me there. But I appreciate everybody that attended. I'm honored as a guest. This is a great show. You're a great interviewer, Frederick. This is this is fulfilling to me to have conversations with leaders like you.
I appreciate it. I'm so glad you came. We just really want to support people and give them as many opportunities to do that. Sometimes my voice is not the only voice. Well, sometimes my voice is not the voice that they need to hear at this particular time. I believe that you've been able to be impactful for others. And there are going to be those who are watching this along. If you've already reached the end of this, but you're watching this on replay, drop a hashtag replay. If you watch this for any period of time, we want to thank you. And we want to encourage you, if you've not yet done so, to do one of two things, or one of three things, or all three of three things, which is to join the 7-Figure Circle $1,000,000 Mastermind Facebook group, to like, share, or subscribe to the YouTube channel, and wherever you're watching this, on LinkedIn or on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, let us know what you thought, what your feedback was. As a matter of fact, drop a question if you have another question. We'll be happy to circle back and answer that, because the beautiful thing about content online is that it's evergreen. It can last forever. And so no matter where you are in your journey, no matter when you arrive across this, we can be able to support you in whatever way possible, even if it's just pointing you to a link to something else or whatever the case may be. But we want to make sure that you have that opportunity. And so it never goes without saying. That's why we're saying it. So for Steve Brown, I want to thank you. Steve ROI Brown, I want to thank you for spending this hour with us, this 5-10 minutes, whatever it was that you spent. Hopefully it was valuable for you. And my name is Frederick Douglass Bussey. As always, ever forward.